Hey, this show is made possible by Workplace Assured. What is Workplace Assured? Well, that's a very, very good question. It's like having a really smart friend you can ring when you've got a curly business question, which means, as a business owner, you can worry less about issues like wrong pay rates, leave entitlements and unfair dismissal, and you can focus on the big stuff, like what are you going to say in that next Facebook post? Try Workplace Assured out now by calling 1300 575 394. In fact, you can try it out for free. And we're also made possible thanks to the Key Person of Influence program. It's a 40-week accelerator designed to make you more visible, valuable and connected in your industry, which means you make more money. Well, that's the aim. Hey, you can grab a free hard copy of their New York Times bestseller over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Have you ever obsessed over something so deeply that you dropped everything in order to create a business around it? That's exactly what today's guest has done. His obsession, ice cream. His distribution method, ice cream truck. His favourite flavour, you'll find out shortly. This is a story of pure passion, determination and plain hard work.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, Australia's #1 marketing podcast. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful, beautiful business of yours into the empire it simply deserves to be. Big show today. Scott Kilmartin is our guest, who's on a mission to build Australia's most beautiful ice cream truck business. I share another low-cost marketing idea in that wonderful segment, What Have You Got to Lose? Today's idea will show you how and why to identify your customer's aha moment. Nice little new marketing concept for many, I'm guessing. And we go back into the Small Business Big Marketing vault, revisiting a past episode in which we caught up with Adam Lappin, aka the Cuddlist, a fellow who made a whole lot of dough owning a buffalo chicken franchise, who's now started a business selling cuddles. And warning, this little revisitation into the vault has an MA rating. You with me? That's much later in the show. As per usual, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Coming up, ice cream truck aficionado Scott Kilmartin takes us behind the scenes of how and why he's building Australia's best ice cream truck business. Plus, I'm going to give you some more insights into how Workplace Assured and Key Person of Influence can take your business to the next level. But first, let's see what this button does. What have you got to lose? Oh, I like that button. It's time for me to share one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement immediately. An idea that's not going to cost you a fortune, if anything, and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately more sales, which is kind of what we want, right? Today's idea is to optimize your customer's aha moment. You can't expect people to buy your product or sign up for your service until they've had their aha moment. That moment when the penny finally drops for them around your value proposition. And the timing of that aha moment is different for every business. If you want to grow your business and convert more prospects, you have to find out what your aha moment is and when it happens for the majority of the people who buy from you. Once you figure that out, your job as the business owner and marketer is to do whatever it takes in order to get people to experience it. Here's my 3 steps to optimizing your customer's aha moment. Step 1. You can make assumptions about it, but the best way to really figure out when the penny drops for the majority of your customers is to simply ask them. I know, so simple. So make a plan to start asking for feedback from them about when what you offered really, really clicked. Step 2, to gather feedback, use a few different methods. You could call them, you could email them, or if you want to spend a few dollars, you could use a tool like Qualaroo or Intercom. And I'll put links in those to the show notes over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/346. Step 3 in optimizing your customer's aha moment. Once you feel that you've gathered enough feedback and you think you have a pretty good idea of what the aha moment is for the majority of your users, the next step is to optimize your onboarding process in order to get more people to experience their aha moment and recognize the value of what you're providing. And here's the pro tip. To help get your eye in, think about businesses you love dealing with, brands that you love buying from. Then ask yourself, when did the aha moment happen for me? When did the penny drop? As always, there'll be links in the show notes to the resources I mentioned over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/346. And if you'd like help implementing any of the ideas I share in this segment, go ahead and join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where I'll personally support you on your marketing journey. So, what have you got to lose? Hey, before we get inspired by the passion and determination of Scotty Kilmartin, who's today's guest, I'd love to tell you about a service that will help any employer sleep more soundly. Would you love a bit of that? Who wouldn't? Well, you're in luck. Support for this show comes from Workplace Assured. As business owners, we know a lot about whatever it is we sell. But what about when it comes to running the HR part of your business? All those niggly, unanswered questions you just aren't trained to answer. Questions like, what if one of my employees starts bullying others? What if an employee gets blind drunk and abusive at a social gathering? Or how do I cancel an underperforming supplier's contract? Oh, the pain. Well, listen, it doesn't have to be that way. What if you could focus on building that beautiful business of yours, knowing that the answers to all these questions and more were just a phone call away? Well, that is absolutely possible thanks to Workplace Assured. No crippling claims or eye-watering legal fees, just solid answers to your most pressing questions. You can try it out now for free by calling Workplace Assured's advice line on 1300 496 955. Hey, do you remember this sound? That's Greensleeves, the soundtrack of those hot summer days when you were a kid. It telegraphed the fact that Mr. Whippy wasn't far away. All you had to do was convince your mum or your dad to give you 20 cents. I always went to my dad to get your hands on the most beautiful, delicious gelato ice cream imaginable. I always went the Blue Heaven flavour and chocolate. That was my go-to mix. What was yours? Hey, well, today's guest, Scott Kilmartin, is on a mission to take the Mr. Whippy thing to a whole new level. Scott first appeared on this show way back in episode 14. At the time, he had a really cool business called Hall that recycled outdoor posters into satchel bags. Fast forward to 2013, Scott sold Hall and took off to see the world. After a few months, he realised that sitting on a beach past midday wasn't cutting it. What was he thinking? So he started researching his passion, which is ice cream. And he visited 173 ice cream shops in 8 countries, finishing with Gelato School in Rome. Where else would you do Gelato School? So he then returns to Melbourne and starts an ice cream cart business where he sells ice creams he doesn't sell them, but he serves them at weddings and corporate functions. And he still does that today, but he's again taken that to the next level. Where it gets really interesting is when he buys a 50-year-old delivery van with the dream of turning it into Australia's best ice cream truck. $100,000 plus later, his dream, which he calls Grace the Vintage Ice Cream Truck, is nearly realised. Nearly. In fact, for the first 20 or so minutes, we actually do the interview sitting inside Grace. She's a beautiful old girl, but she's still got a little bit of work to be done. I think you're going to love this chat. Scott's enthusiasm for what he's doing and sheer willingness to roll up his sleeves and get shit done is infectious. Plus, there's some solid business and marketing learnings along the way, as usual. So let's head over to Grace, the vintage ice cream truck, where I started off by asking Scott, what's his favourite flavour?
My favourite flavour, so I like a bit of salted caramel. Salted caramel is an interesting flavour. So it's been the most popular flavour in the world of the gourmet flavours the last 5 years in a row. And the reason is, it's when people come up and order it, it's a little bit more than your vanilla, your chocolate, your strawberry, but it's not getting into territory that's too unknown for them. And I reckon that's the magic.
Mate, it's my favourite flavour. It's a genius flavour, and I can't believe it's taken this long for someone to go put more salt in the caramel, and it will be one of the great flavours of ice cream in the world. But anyway, you and I agree already.
Look, we're in agreement. And the other one, if you're at a wedding or something, or you're having a champagne or a white wine in the sun, I like a bit of lemon sorbet.
Oh, gee. A bit of Pimm's in there?
That'd be the two. Well, I'm partial to Pimm's.
Scotty, you sold Hall. That was when you were last on the show. Your Hall was rocking. You sold Hall. Did you have some dough in the bank after that?
So it was a little bit of both. So the corporate side of it. So we were a bit of an illusion in the end. We still appeared to be a consumer-facing brand predominantly. But 80% of the business was making things for companies out of their billboards, and I'd sell it back to them. So let's say, example, you were Seek, and you've got 200 billboards a year with the bright pink and the white on them. We would turn them into dock satchels they'd give out at conferences, so they can say that this is
a good little business, a great little idea.
So that bit I unloaded to a promotional products company. The whole brand itself ended up shutting down, and the big reason for that was, if you go back to 2010, 2011, the Australian dollar hit $6, $7 at its peak. We were predominantly an export business. So my big markets, US, UK, Japan, the traffic
killed you.
Coming in was still good, but our conversions plummeted because our prices went up almost 30%. So that was my baby, and that was one that was hardest to pull the trigger on. I probably waited a year too long.
Right.
If I'd have been a little bit more brutal and gone, look, the numbers just are declining because the dollar going high, then I would have done it early. But just so hard for something you've been involved with for a long time.
So you sell it, and you decide to head off in 2013 on a world ice cream tour.
Well, it didn't start out that way, but it ended up being that way. So I was just going to go and take 3 months off. Go travelling. I used to live in the US. So I was going to go and visit some friends over there, sit in the beach, have a swim.
Not one of these old blokes who stays in the backpackers and...
No. Airbnb was rolling back then, and I was exploring it wherever it was opening. So I went travelling, but by midday I was like, what else do I do with my day? So I'd go run along the beach and have some breakfast, and so I started visiting ice cream shops. And I'd been this guy that since I moved to Melbourne in 2000, I'd been threatening to start an ice cream business. Your second glass of wine at a dinner party, having a beer at a barbecue. I was telling my friends I'm going to do this.
Full of bravado. I'm going to ice cream truck for me.
So I'd never got around to it, that idea number 237 on the list you just never quite get to. And then I thought, well, now's the time.
But it was the idea that really sat comfortably with you, was it?
It was a bit...
Gave you a warm fuzzy?
I thought, look, I thought it may or may not make any money, and I'll probably end up doing something else maybe as the main income generator. But I wanted to give an ice cream thing a crack.
Right.
And this is before Gelato Messina had exploded, and before we'd had probably what's happening.
Probably pre-salted caramel, was it?
Salted caramel was still going.
It was big then, wasn't it? Okay.
So I'd every Sunday morning I had a dog called Gus the Boxer who was involved in my other business. I'd take him down to Port Melbourne Beach. He'd have a swim, have a run along the beach, and we'd go to Jock's Ice Cream in Albert Park, get ice cream on the way home. And we'd do that whether it be July or January. Yep. And I've gone, I'm going to do this. Visit all these ice cream shops, and once they realise that you're not going to set up next to them, and when you speak like I do, and you're in New York or you're in Madrid or wherever, once they find out that you're going to make gelato. So the difference between ice cream and gelato, there's a few differences, but one is that you're using fresh ingredients and you're using less preservatives in gelato.
Okay.
There's a bit of a legal scenario.
Before you give us the recipe on gelato versus ice cream, I'm still in the States with you being bored by 12 o'clock on the beach, and you are wanting to go, well, idea 237 was a good one. I think I'd like to do it when I get back to Australia. In order for me to do it, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but in order for me to do it, I'm going to need to research ice cream shops around the world.
And research is
what you did.
Research is a good word because it's also an excuse to go to ice cream shops. So it was a little bit of both. I mean, I'd go into these places and I'd have a chat to them about, what do you guys do in winter? How does an ice cream business succeed in winter? And like I said, when they find out you're not going to open up next to them, they will, and that you're going to make good ice cream and not the kind of the cement bag with water mixed stuff. Mm-hmm. Half of them would open their flavour books to you. They'd invite you out the back. I'd have dinner with these blokes. I'd end up in a bar with some of these, and the whole family would be. And that was almost the same wherever I went, especially when I got into Europe, when I went to Italy and Paris and some of those places. And so they're all, don't do this, do that. So I was getting these old guiding kind of doyens of the industry that I didn't really know much about. I went and studied with an Italian guy in New York, and which basically meant I went to a few of his classes over 2 weeks and then went and harassed him long enough he let me work for free in his ice cream shop. And I thought, that's not a bad model, that. So when I went to Italy, I was doing the same thing, except that I don't really speak Italian. Yeah. So there was the international language of gelato, because they weren't really speaking much English. And they were just giving me all the old secrets.
We had 100. You went to 173 ice cream shops in 8 countries. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, in 3 continents.
It's extraudinary.
So some of them I was getting a fair bit of sugar overload every day.
Yeah.
So I'll be visiting 2 or 3 times a day.
That's a lot. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, at what point were you just doing this, going, I'll just go to one more? I mean, at what point after ice cream shop 24? Could you possibly be taking on new learnings?
Well, some of you weren't taking on new stuff. You go. The thing was, I was in different places, right. and everywhere it's different. From the way they display it, do they use the open gelato tubs, or they use the ones that have the caps on top, and some of them they make it using a paddle. Others, it's so there's just some people do various forms of. The overused word.
It is amazing what you learn. We had a family holiday in Italy 2 years ago, and clearly when you go around Italy, I mean, gelato is everywhere. And one of the things, 2 things I learned. One is that the gelato shops that pile the gelato very high and it looks impressive, that's generally the worst gelato going around.
So it's the tourist focused stuff.
The tourist focused stuff. The ones that only sell 6, 7, 10 flavours, they were the good ones because they were bespoke.
You've been given the good oil.
A good oil. And we happened to stay at an Airbnb in Florence above a gelato shop run by an Italian bloke who used to live in Adelaide. So it was unbelievable. We used to go down there every morning for breakfast, have a gelato, set us on our way. He's a wonderful fellow, and they're very giving. Well, he was a very giving person.
And I met lots of them like that. They were really quite open and willing to share.
Right.
So you form a relationship, and then they're going, well, if you're into it, I will impart.
They
some
probably
secrets.
just love, like you would now. If someone came up and wanted to talk ice cream, you'd be like, "Sit down, champion. How long have you got?"
And it is a bit like, I mean, I get it now with the ice cream truck. I've been thinking about doing something like this. How do I start it? Where do I buy one? What kind of truck's going to be reliable? We have those kind of, that's the conversation I've had.
So you're in ice cream shop 4 and you learn that presentation is critical. You're in ice cream shop 67 and some bloke tells you how to run the books and serve it in a way that, you're not giving away too much but feeling, you're learning lots of things along the way. How are you capturing everything?
So I was making my little Evernotes. I had my phone out with me, and I'd make a few notes, take a few photos, take a picture of their recipe, take a picture of them so I'd remember. Because sometimes if you're visiting 4 or 5 in a day, it does get a bit blurry.
Yeah.
So I was Instagramming a little bit of that stuff, and it was really interesting. Almost none of them had websites. Mm-hmm. The ones in the US more so, but the ones in Italy almost none. So they'd have an old Hotmail address or something, and I'd email them something. Or if I'd go back for a second day to say thank you, often the son would be wheeled out or the daughter would be wheeled out, and they'd be like, she's seen you on Instagram, can you show us how to set up our account or something. So there was a little bit of give back as well, which was really nice. And but look, there's lots of repetitive stuff, and the repetitive stuff was good because you go, if I'm seeing it constantly, it must be working.
Was there a moment where you just gone, that's pure genius?
The guys that while I was in Italy, the top 50 gelaterias, like their version of something like a broadsheet, bought out the top 50 in the country, and that's just this massive punch on about how this guy shouldn't be doing this and how. And the one that got number 1 while I was there played the I'm going to be aloof, so no interviews.
Great.
And he was, so he kept all these. He was the one that he was quite open about how he did things, but he didn't really want to talk about it.
Right.
I thought he's captured the mystique where no one else has. So I love the fact.
Did you end up meeting him?
Yeah, well, I did in the end because I went to his shop with intent, and then I got lost in Italy one day, and he was about to open another shop, and I stumbled in, saw some signage, wandered in. I'm like, same guy.
Italy's a big joint. Where was he? Rome or?
So he's got two. So he got none in the heart of Rome. He's got two on the outer fringes.
And what did he give you?
Oh, so he was interesting because he was he was like one of those moody chefs,
right?
And so his personality became his brand. He had a bit of the Marco, the Gordon Ramsay about it. He had a bit of that stuff, but he was really good in terms of he was anti-tourist. Don't make it for the tourists. And what you've mentioned about the mountains for display, the way that they're done is they basically aerate their gelato. They're basically blowing air into it. So it's a bit like a bag of chips.
Yeah.
There's not much in them anymore because they're blown up with air.
Yeah.
There's an ice cream version of that. And he was like, don't do that. And the other thing was, he's like, the purest way of controlling your temperatures with gelato is having a cap on the top. And that's a very northern Italian way to display it. So he was a purist, but he's a purist that was commercially driven.
A lid?
Yeah, they had the lids. So
Mate, I came across this. It's funny you mentioned that because I must have had my gelato radar on because I came across this joint over the Ponte Vecchio in Florence, and he served 8 flavours, and he had these little tin lids like the top of a billy,
exactly
can.
what they are, and that's what we're going to have in the truck here,
right?
Because it's a great way of controlling temperatures. The reason you don't see a lot of them is because kids and mums, kids pick ice cream on colour, not flavour, because often their palates aren't that mature, so they need to be able to see, I'll have the pink or the brown or the orange or whatever it might be. And so if you're selling to children, or mums and children, then having caps on them is almost commercial death. But he was an absolute purist. He's like, and he had a big enough reputation that he had queues out the door. And the other thing that he was really interesting is he had a really simple, almost a minimalist kind of hipster cafe layout. But I noticed I went there twice in the mornings after I got to meet him, and people were dropping in on their old coffee break or the traditional cigarette break stuff, and they would come in. He would give them a glass of water. They would have some gelato on their break, the way that people don't have a coffee. Sit there, have a chat with each other, pick up and leave, and get a glass of water on the way out. So he had a nice ritual going on, and I really liked the ritual aspect. So one of the things we're going to do on the truck is I found this old ornate water dispenser, and you can have a cup of water, cleanse the palate before it. But he was really, and I really liked that. And I only picked that up after the fact. I'm like, why does no one else do this?
Yeah.
And yet a lot of the other places hadn't taken on that cafe aspect, and so he was doing trade in the morning. Most people, it's in Italy, in Spain, in France, they'll have gelato all year round. But he was selling it all year round and from 10 a.m. onwards. And I've gone, you've really figured it out.
173 stores, 8 countries. You come back here. You don't immediately buy this wonderful old girl, Grace, that we're sitting in, who we're going to talk about very shortly. She doesn't mind us talking about her while we're sitting.
No, it is weird that this thing has become like I went and did some gigs yesterday, and people were patting the truck and talking about it by name, which is really cool to see. And I've gone, that is a bit odd.
Beautiful.
On one level it's cool, on another level it's a bit bizarro.
So you come back here and you start an ice cream cart business. Is that the first step?
So I came back and I realised that getting a shop fitted out pre-sun probably wasn't going to happen. With fit out and then council regs and approvals, my window was going to close. So I thought, how do I... And I was a bit disappointed because I've done all this research. I was really fired up. I'm like, how do I do this? And then I've gone... started doing some e-commerce consulting, and e-commerce is the stuff that I've really got to know the last decade or so. And I've gone, maybe I get a cart. So 3 a.m, I'm Googling around and I find this cart on eBay or Gumtree.
Right.
Buy that, and I looked at 2 carts, and the one that I ended up picking out was one that would actually fit in the back of the van I had at the time. I've gone, this is perfect because no extra expense. I can test the waters of this cart. If I don't like it, there's no money in it, there's no business in it. If it's just more hard work than I thought, then I'm not doing a huge fit out. So bought this cart. Mate of mine's a bit of a carpenter. I designed this little canopy thing that sat above it, like I'd seen in Paris of all places. He gave me a hand, and then a week later we were in Edinburgh Gardens and we were selling ice cream.
Unbelievable.
And then on that very first
ice cream
week,
that you were making?
That point, no.
Buying it.
So that point, I was a bit of the let's just test it before it's ready. So I was like, get it out there and see what people want. And And so I'd found a good supplier in Brunswick, and so we were selling it in the gardens, and then a couple of weeks later we got the permit that actually allowed us to do that. But I started getting wedding bookings, and I'd talked to a lot of these guys. I'd talked to some guys that had carts in Central Park in New York, and some of the more gourmet ice cream trucks, and I've gone, what percentage of your business is on the street versus events and photo shoots and TV and film? One guy goes, you've missed the biggest thing. He goes, weddings. He goes, less people are getting married in churches, more people are getting married in parks and gardens. And he goes, ice cream is this thing. He goes, and he was the one that planted the seed. He's gone, it's both a novelty and it's a nice backdrop for photos. And I've gone, you figured it out.
You got it.
And then when I got home, when we started getting wedding inquiries, I had a Tumblr page that wasn't even that had a mobile number. I didn't even have email address contact, and I was getting both event companies and brides as well contacting us. And I've gone, this wedding thing, this has got legs. Like any idea, you feel like you've got an idea, but the wave is already there. And I started surfing down it.
Scotty, hold that thought. We're going to pause, listeners. I think it might be getting quite noisy out here. Yeah. And as much as I love sitting in Grace, I think we're going to head inside.
All right, let's do that.
And hear the rest of the story from there, okay? Love it. So the wedding thing is the way to go with the ice cream cart, but the ice cream cart wasn't the way to go with the business moving forward. Fair?
Well, so I ended up with 3 carts, and weddings were great as a side business. And the reason they were great was everything was pre-booked. They go ahead, rain, hail or shine. So we could prepare the ice cream on the Friday. The weddings were always Friday, Saturday or Sunday. And it meant scheduling staff to work in them was great, but difficult to scale.
Right.
And, it's a lot laborious, and we had, 3 carts and 1.5 vehicles. There's a lot of shuffling and logistics around there. Yeah. But learn a lot about, we also did photo shoots for fashion brands. Right. So there were lots of things that came from the carts. And having the day business, I set up the online store, guys. I co-founded that with some guys. We were building e-commerce business. That was pretty full on. And so the carts were a really nice fit on the weekends. Mm-hmm. But I've been looking around for a truck for a while, and I wanted to buy an old truck that had
This is the dream.
Yeah.
Right? This is like, wasn't a shop, wasn't a cart, it was a lovely old ice cream truck.
So I'd watched the movie Chef, and if you haven't seen it, you should.
Mate, I watched the trailer last night, and
a cracker.
It looked like an absolute cracker.
Yeah, it's family viewing. It's a great movie. It's a coming of age.
So is this an aha moment for you watching that film?
Yeah, so I've probably seen Chef 300 times. No exaggeration. So I'm a big Jon Favreau fan. He did Swingers.
Has obsessive compulsive disorder been through the family?
Undiagnosed. So I watched Chef. I love that film, and I thought I really want to find a truck. And all the food trucks in Australia, whilst the quality of food's good, they're all Brighton beach boxes on the back of a moving van. Really, they're not aesthetically that pretty.
Right.
Boxy.
And okay.
The old Volvo ads of the 80s, they're boxy.
Yep.
So I wanted to find a curvy truck, and I just couldn't find any. And then I came across Grace rusting away on the Gold Coast, decaying in the salty air, but good lines. And
hold the thought on Grace, the chef thing, because one of the key lines, only from the trailer, but from the main character, was that he said he wanted to touch people's lives through the bringing on of this food truck that he ended up having.
It's a good Hollywood line, that one, isn't it?
Do you like that one?
It's not bad.
Was that you?
One of the funny things happens with ice cream is, so the nice balance with ice cream as a side business was that, when you've got big projects and they're moving around with the e-commerce stuff, there's lots of tricky phone conversations to have and keeping things inside the scope of the project. But on ice cream on the weekends, you stand there and people walk up smiling.
Yeah.
And they're happy to see you. And it's probably not my charm or my looks. It's what I was serving. And so with the truck, it's even more so because we've started redeeming some of we'll talk about in a second, the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding. One of the things we had as a pledge level was treat your street. So we'd go out there for 45 minutes. Yeah, we did. And even the next level we bought in after that sold out as well.
Let's go back. So inspired by Chef, you have then gone, I've got to find the most beautiful old truck that I can turn into Australia's, maybe the world's best ice cream truck. So how'd you do that?
Find Grace online. I found a bunch of them, but they were either too far gone or they weren't a good fit, or found Grace was in reasonable nick. It looked from afar. Good backstory, started life as a delivery van for Myer in Adelaide in the 60s. It had delivered beds, been a slushy truck, been an ice cream truck, and now it's dilapidated. So I thought, this is the truck for me. Went up there, had a look at it. The body definitely looked like it needed some work, but it had good bones, as they say in the car game. And in the end, it ended up having a fair bit of rust in the floor. We ended up being a much bigger project when I got home.
So the bones weren't that good.
Well, no, it was a little bit hidden as rust can be. So bought it and drove it down from the Gold Coast, delivered for Uber Ice Cream Day, went into Splendour in the Grass.
Byron Bay.
Road tripped it down, chef style. Broke down a few times. One of the latches on the back door flew open, so it was like one of those old 1950s movies where the hearse, the doors fly open and the coffin comes out. They got after stuff on the road. It's got a tiny microscopic engine and petrol tank, so ran out of petrol 3 times.
What's that about?
Because I don't know why they fitted these things so badly, but I mean,
so
one of the things about running out of petrol was, in your mind you think, okay, I've filled it up now, I'm good for 300 k's, as you would be in a modern car.
Yeah.
No, you're good for 100 k's.
Oh wow!
Kept on doing it.
You're travelling down from the Gold Coast to Melbourne. You're just feeling alive.
It's good, great fun. It drives slow because it only does 80 k's.
Right.
So you're on the side of the road, so if you're ever on the shoulder waving people through, everyone's honking the horn. It was good fun. The beautiful thing about the truck is you can legally drive with the door slit open.
Beautiful.
So that you've got natural air.
You know who it reminds me of? I can't remember the character's name, but Borat's manager. Yeah, remember that?
Yes, I know you mean.
Cracker.
Borat had the skip with the ice cream truck too. Yeah, He did. So it was really good fun, and got to Sydney, and along the way I'd started documenting. So I thought, that startup mindset, how do I build a following before I've got a product? Well, I'll take a few photos of this along the way, but one I quickly realised, for Instagram, which was the exploding platform at the time, I haven't got too many good photos of this truck. So I was taking a few of the road trip stripe truck, and I thought, how do I give people an idea that I'm going to make this a kind of a retro-looking truck, not just another pink Mr. Whippy van?
Yep.
So I started featuring other retro old ice cream trucks around the world, and then putting in some of my trip and what then became...
This is all on Insta.
It's all on Insta.
Building a following, not really knowing exactly what you're going to do, but
didn't know where the destination
was. Create the story.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that worked really well, and that grew. And people, the constant question we get, what are you going to do with this thing? Yep. Where's it going to be? When's it going to be on the road? And I'm, of course, fairly optimistic. It'll be on the road in 3 months. So we're now 13 months into a 3-month restoration.
Okay, so the restoration, because I do want to talk about your crowdfunding, but there's a lot of work to be done before your crowdfunding campaign, which only finished yesterday. So what was that work? Because clearly there was more than you bargained for.
There was. So we found that there was a bit more cancer in the bones than I'd hoped. I had a panel beater lined up that was going to help me restore it, and he got busy and couldn't do it. Went to visit 80 odd panel beaters, 80 around Melbourne, and they're all going, no. One bloke flat out told me, he's like, he goes, you'd be much better, he goes, just lighting your cigarettes with $100 notes and buying a new vehicle. He goes, you're going to go through lots of frustration, the budget's going to blow out, these things. He goes, no one's going to want to touch it with you because we can't make any money out of doing it. I had variations of that. Lots of old blokes just going, what are you? One guy's flat out, are you a trust fund kid? Have you got lots of money that you want to spend? I'm like, no, I'm not. But anyway, so I got introduced to a mate of mine, to this guy, Mickey, who, really interesting guy, Serbian fella, was Melbourne's leading wedding photographer in the 80s and has a fleet of old Jags and Daimlers and Benzes and Rolls Royces, and they're wedding cars. But mate of mine used to rent the office above his building up in East Brunswick, and he'd restored a whole lot of vehicles. So he had a photographer's eye for the curves and the detail on the outside. Once we got into it and we realised the floor was no good, and we were going to have to try and re-weld the floor, then the conversation, where the project blew out in time and in dollars was, well, if we're going to replace the floor, why don't we try and lower it? Because the vehicle as it was, you stood really high, which was no good from an OH&S perspective. You're going to put me and my staff.
You're over 6 foot. You're
going to be standing there hunching. And the other thing is, you feel like from a user experience,
looking down at it,
you feel like you're being served by King Kong. So it was like, if we're going to replace this, can we lower it? And we couldn't lower the whole floor because of the structure of the vehicle. Then we got this idea to lower just a kind of a pocket, or the serving pit as it became known. So the person serving could be much lower, which really meant that I could stand in there and work in it. We got a bit of conflicting advice around can you weld to the chassis, can you bolt? Anyway, we finally got that together.
Hold that thought. How did you get your Serbian mate? He's the 81st panel beater or whatever he is that you visited. How did you get him to buy into your story?
So he's one of those interesting guys, and him and I now have this kind of Mr. Miyagi, Daniel-san relationship. Absolutely, I'm a little bit older than Daniel-san, of course, but he loves old cars, loves a project, and he's like, what do you want to do? So he's really sussing me out. What do you want to do with this? Are you doing it to keep or to sell? If I'd have told him that I was going to sell it, he wouldn't have got involved at all. And he was fantastic. So I think he saw the passion and the lunacy of, he goes, have you got other ice cream trucks? What are you doing? What are you going to do with this at the end? Do you know how to weld? Do you know how? I'm like, no, don't know anything about this. Need my handheld. And the beautiful thing about him was, one, he had this knowledge. He'd restored a lot of vehicles, so he had an enormous kind of backyard skill set that he really knew what he was on about. And these aren't things you can go and find someone on Elance or get local tradies to come and help you. He had really good problem solving in a physical world.
Couldn't find anyone in Manila?
No, funnily enough. Outsource everything? Yeah, not quite. And look, he was fantastic. And the beautiful thing was, he only lived where the workshop is 30 minutes from my house. So I could drop in there and work in it. Are
you a spiritual person?
I'm not religious, but
But you've got to look at that and go...
Yeah, meant to be. There's a bit of something in there, a bit of faith.
Extraordinary.
The beautiful thing was that I could go and work on it. I could be, like, he was the skilled trading. We brought in some other guys to do some welding or whatever, and I was doing the grunt work, and all the while I was learning.
Yeah.
So I didn't know much about sanding cars. I'd helped a mate of mine.
How are you earning a quid at this point?
E-commerce stuff during the day.
Okay.
So I was working after hours, early in the mornings until from 5 a.m. until 8:30 in the morning, and then I'd go back in the evening and work kind of 7 until midnight.
And your Serbian mate and his mates were working those?
Well, they were there during the day, and I was there. So I'd have 1 day a week fully off from the e-commerce stuff, or it might be an afternoon where I'd go from 2 o'clock onwards. I'd be there. So it was, but we were doing the bulk of the work they were there. He has people viewing his wedding cars on Wednesdays and Thursday nights until 9 o'clock. So Wednesdays and Thursdays were our big working night because he was already there. But often what happened in the mornings on Saturdays, where all the cars go out, he'd get all these drivers that go out, give them their run sheets. That all 45 of them would leave in the mornings, and then he'd be then free until about 5 o'clock, and they all start coming in. So we'd do a power of work in that time.
Yep.
So it was good, really good setup. But it was just I couldn't have found this guy online. I couldn't have found him in the old days of the phone book. It was just someone introduced me. Initially, I was like, saying to my mate Nick, I was like, I don't need a guy with a bunch of wedding cars. I need a panel. But he's like, just go and see him.
Interesting.
Just go and see him. And he's been fantastic.
So he's there, you are working away, problems continue to show themselves, you realise that you're going to have to lower the floor, that's massive cost. 13 months later?
Yeah, so it's a bit like, to use the analogy that most people get, it's a bit like restoring an old house. Nothing's square, and if you pull up
Don't lift the carpet.
If you pull up the floorboards, then you go, there's a problem with the stumps. And then you repair 2 of the stumps, or you replace them, you go, there's a bit of a leak in the sewage system there as well. And so all of a sudden your $40,000 kitchen reno is at 120 and ticking and going north. We did the ice cream truck equivalent of that.
So how do you manage that? You weren't one of these family trust kids.
No.
You didn't have a whole lot of coin in the bank to throw at this.
I budgeted it was going to cost $30,000.
And?
Missed that by about 80.
Right, so you're at 110.
Yeah, so
how do you manage that? Just from a psychological point of view, are you so indebted, and I don't mean financially, but partly financially, but are you so indebted to this idea that it's going to happen at all costs?
Yeah, so it was a bit of find a way. The way was, I'm going to run out of cash. How do I do this? And so partly me helping out definitely was a way of trying to do more of that stuff as I was learning. I had the e-commerce stuff going on, and then I also had, so the ice cream cart business was really interesting. I knew I was going to run out of money coming into winter because there's no more cart jobs, and that was the money that I was shuffling straight from there into the truck. And so I was going to run the crowdfunding campaign in winter, but I'd learnt from a bunch of people that I'd spoken to that run crowdfunding campaigns going, you do a summer product, don't run in winter because people aren't thinking summer things. Right. So I was putting it off. All my friends were like, aren't you going to run this? Aren't you going to run? I'm like, it's not the right time. So what I did was, one of those, desperation breeds innovation moments. I've gone, how can I fabricate some money out of the air with the things I've got on the table?
Yeah.
So when people book the ice cream carts, we get them to pay.
Everyone's getting their pen and paper ready at this point, Scotty, because you're about to fabricate money out of it.
It was good. It was just beautiful cash flow management. Right. If I do say so myself.
There you go.
We get them to pay a 40% deposit to book the cart. And people either book the carts 3 weeks out or a year and a half
Genius.
out. So I was like...
Up front.
I was like, what if I offer them a discount to pay for the whole thing up front? Mm-hmm. So I thought, look, you know what? I'll feed out the inquiries I've had in this week, and we had about a dozen inquiries. I'll quickly email them and go, here's our package. And a few of them come back going, great, we're going to lock in that date. And I've gone, it's at the invoicing stage. So they've already agreed to the price. I've gone, here's your invoice, here's our terms. And in the subject line, it'd be like invoice plus discount offer. And it was only a 10% offer. It was only a 10% discount. So if it was $1,000 wedding, you're really only saving yourself $100. And I thought, it's probably not enough, but I'll test the waters with that. Of the 3 people that we invoiced that weekend, of the 4 people, 3 of the 4 took it.
3 of the 4.
And I've gone 10% off in a shop window wouldn't be enough to get your attention. No. But in this game, it was, and I've gone, this is the way I'm going to do this. So I knew I was robbing Peter to pay
ice cream carts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I was using wedding bookings from the carts to finance the truck.
Right.
And I was like, wow, is that just been an anomaly this weekend? And I thought, this is odd. Why would people that are a year and a half in the future paying this up front? Lots of reasons possibly for that, but anyway, it was working. So all of a sudden, I knew at this point I've gone, okay, I'm robbing Peter in the future to pay Paul of the moment. But I thought it doesn't matter. Once I get this truck on the road, that's going to bring in money. It'll be fine. And so all of the people that were making ongoing inquiries, I put that to them, and I went back to all the people that had bookings in the future and gone, so you've paid your 40% deposit. Your wedding is 9 months from now. If you want to pay for the rest of it now, and the other thing was I had a bit of a standard line there. We're offering a 10% discount. Not too many people bought into it. Then I added 3 lines about I've got this. I'm restoring this old vintage ice cream truck. It's an expensive game, this mistress business. My name's not Rupert. I basically put in a paragraph of text. As we all know, stories sell. Yeah. And then the take-up became... it's about 75% of people take up the offer. And what that meant was, all of a sudden I had cash flow.
You put all this money forward?
I had cash flow. And it was, if I hadn't been desperate, I don't think I'd have come up with it.
Yeah.
And that's been fantastic. And what that meant was, yes, everything was still tight because obviously the truck was still, I was still spending money hand over fist.
Yep.
But I was like, all right, how can I cut down, how can we cut down on corners? It's a bit of that Seth Godin stuff. What's the stuff you're willing to compromise on and what are you not? And for me, I wanted to make it a beautiful exterior. I wasn't going to whack any Jayco Caravan parts on it. We weren't going to use checker plate like a trailer.
Hello to Jayco Caravan, past guest of the show.
Yeah, nice. Big fan of Jerry's.
Big fan of Jerry's.
My dad was a cyclist. I love what he's done with the cycling team.
Right. But you're the type of bloke who doesn't compromise on a lot of things, I'm guessing. So is it hard for you to...
For me, the design... I didn't want to...
You love design.
And look, Hall was a design business.
Yeah,
so I didn't want to give up on the design aesthetic, but I was like, on the inside, all the bits people don't see, the back office, the back kitchen, how can we... Long term, I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it, but like short term, a bit of the startup-y MVP. What can I get it on the road with? Make $1 and fix that later.
Beautiful.
So I wanted the exterior to look beautiful, which it does, and then some of the stuff on the inside.
Let's not just gloss over that because I've mentioned it before. And every business talk you ever go to, they talk about the minimum viable product, the MVP, and read the lean startup and do this and do that, but. I got to tell you, it comes up time and time again, and anyone listening to this show who's trying to wait for perfection or trying to wait until they got all the dough in the bank in order to do something or for something magical to happen, I think it's probably fair to say it's not going to happen. Would that,
It's harder if you wait till it's finished. Yeah. So I've got 2 stories in that. One is the freezer, the perfect freezer to put in the back of this truck that I can have sorbet at a colder temperature than ice cream, to have those caps and whatever else, $18,000. It's perfect, it works really well, but I can't afford it right now. And do I absolutely need that to get started? No. I've bought a couple of old shop freezers with the sliding lids for about $500 each off eBay. Beautiful. I've put a top on the top of those. I've got to manage my temperatures a lot better. It's a lot more hands-on, but it works. Yeah. So there's that part of it. The other one was, here we are where the truck is almost finished. It's 87% done. There's really only the branding on the outside, some benches to go in, a generator to happen, and a bit of plumbing to feed some water around there. We could have had the truck finished right now, but I decided that I was getting all these inquiries during the crowdfunding campaign for is the truck going to be ready to come to our Christmas party? Mm-hmm. Is the truck going to be ready to come to our office in the afternoon pre-Christmas? And I was thinking, well, Christmas is now. It's not in January. No. So I was like, let's stop the finishing, the finer detail. I'm not going to get the sign writing done. I'm not going to put the benches in. I can go out and do gigs right now because they're private gigs and we're not selling, I legally can do it. I was like...
So you put the design on hold, you've got a bit of work to do on finishing the old girl off, and you get some dough.
Gave me two things. One, it gave me a little bit of cash. We did them pretty cheap, but I wanted to get a lot of imagery. I wanted to get photos. Like yesterday was probably the biggest day. Yesterday being a Sunday, we did 3 kids' birthday parties and an office party. We've got lots of great photos, told the story to lots of people. We've got 2 other bookings that have come from that. And then I know that once we've got another gig on Boxing Day, will be the final gig, where I've got a 5-day window to finish a bunch of stuff off, and I've got the best of both worlds. Yes, it's delayed a little bit where, I'm a marketer, I like my brand, I want to see the name on the outside of the truck, but I'm like, Christmas is now.
But those people too are gone, who you served yesterday have gone, that was an unreal experience. Great ice cream. Old Gracie came up. They're not going, geez, I wish Gracie had some signage on the front, or that the freezer was the $18,000.
There's enough wow factor in the truck, because it's if I do say so, it's a striking truck, and I knew there was enough wow on it. We had kids, and the other thing too, we didn't charge them a lot. We were there for longer than we thought. We were grabbing kids, putting them in the driver's seat, taking birthday photos. Doing that over and above stuff, and great fun. You want to jump inside and pretend you're serving, so we had good fun.
Great story so far. Great story. We've got a bit to cover though, because at this point,
and you and I do tend to waffle.
Don't mind a chat.
A little bit.
Don't mind a chat. Long form podcasts are alive and well, Scott. By the way, listeners, I am speaking to Scott Kilmartin. Where do I say you're from? Gracie, the vintage ice cream truck?
Yeah. So I'm deciding now whether I'm going to make the truck part of the ice cream cart business or keep it separate. So she's at this point it's at Vintage Ice Cream Truck on Instagram.
What would that decision be about? Would that be about selling the cart business at some point and not giving away Gracie? Or?
Possibly. So at the end of the podcast, I'll tell you what my plans are to use the truck for. It gets into Anthony Bourdain territory.
Oh, love it. Hold that thought. Yeah. Don't forget, because I will. So she's restored. She's beautiful. I'm going to put photos in the show notes so you can have a good look at her, and 2 big fat blokes sitting in it at the same time doing the first half of this episode.
I've trimmed down a little bit.
You have trimmed down, actually. Yeah. I'll take the weight. So you've got her on the road. She's going around. Are you still buying an ice cream, or are you making ice cream?
So up until now, I've been buying it for my Italian place. What the plan is now that I've got the truck and we can do more volume, I'm going to sublease some space from a mate of mine's kitchen. A mate of mine's got an event business with a kitchen. We're going to start making it again. So
mate, that'll be exciting.
Because
we've talked about a lot about the truck, but at the end of the day, you are selling ice cream.
Yeah, and look, so I want to be able to have the flexibility to make a lot of different flavours. With the cart business, it worked out really well for us to buy because we were only doing really small volumes, and the time expended, especially when I had other things going, didn't really work. But now the truck, because the trucks, I view it like, yes, it's gone way over budget and we're getting into vintage Ferrari territory in terms of spend. But I look at it like it's going to be a bit like a taxi that's going to, taxis they say we used to in a pre-Uber world do 3 shifts a day. This one will do afternoon and evening, and while it's sunny outside, it'll be on the road 7 days a week.
Yep.
It's going to work really hard. It's not going to be a pretty truck that only goes to events on the weekends. It's going to be out there all the time.
Not the most scalable of businesses.
No, absolutely not.
Only one Gracie?
It's a passion project. Right. I might bring in some other trucks that I'm kind of hunting overseas. Right. The plan for me now is this thing, get it on the road, get it all stamped and signed off by council so that we can get on the street and start trading.
Yep.
I'm going to be a full-time truck driver 7 days a week between now and Easter.
Yep.
Melbourne being Melbourne, my day off will be that windy, rainy day that comes every week.
Yep.
But I'm going to work it. And once I get through Easter, I reckon I'll have tested all the ideas. Is it better to have it going to the Welcome to Thornbury or the food truck parks, or is it better to be at the beaches? Can we get permits for those places I want to go to? What's the best way? What's the most fun way to do it? Where's it going to be the best earn?
Right.
I'll have the model refined, and then I'll still keep driving it, but probably 1 day a week. I won't be in it all the time.
So she's on the road. You have only yesterday you finished a crowdfunding campaign, which had its trials and tribulations. Hey, before Scott takes us inside the crowdfunding journey, and what a journey it was, here's a word from a business that wants to help you build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Support for this show comes from Key Person of Influence, the world's leading business accelerator program for those wanting to be an industry thought leader. Their 5-step KPI method teaches you how to nail your pitch, publish content, productise your offer, raise your profile, and partner with performers. I asked co-founder Glenn Carlson, what's with the pee fetish?
Oh, yeah, I suppose it is a bit of a fetish, isn't it? But I guess we're just a bit obsessed. You know, fetishes, obsessions, we're just business geeks, mate. We believe there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur, and we're all in. We are just all in. And if we find best practices and ideas as a result of what's working for our clients all around the world, we just want to bring it to people. And so far, the best framework that we've found to be able to do that, to really accelerate that entrepreneurial journey in the shortest time, is the 5 Ps. So, mate, get in on the fetish.
KPI, where fetishes rule. For a free hard or audio copy of their Amazon bestseller, visit keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Oh, and a little warning. Don't read it before bed. You just won't sleep. Okay, let's get back to Scotty, where I was asking him why he embarked on a crowdfunding campaign.
Crowdfunding, everyone talks about the money aspect of it. The thing that gets underestimated is it's just a great part of a launch strategy. So for me, it was I wanted to get people to pre-order. And the other thing is often, you know, it's still misunderstood. People often think it's donating. It's a pre-ordering system. It's a pre-buying. We were getting people to pre-book weddings, events, office drive-bys.
Yeah, right.
And also the old...
Learning number one. Crowdfunding is not fundraising. Crowdfunding is pre-sales.
Pre-sales.
Clever.
So what I did, and even like, so one of the most popular things you could do was pre-buy 10 ice creams, like a coffee card.
Okay. Let's just go back a step, because a lot of people will be listening having not even heard of the word crowdfunding or contributing to a crowdfunding campaign. So it is simple. Will you explain it? What is a crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, so crowdsourcing is ideas. Crowdfunding is where people... Amanda Palmer's probably the most famous one that people pre-bought her albums, her CDs.
Yeah, right. Can't say I've heard of the old Amanda Palmer.
Amanda Palmer's the Power of Asking. She written a couple of books,
right.
Very 4 million view TED Talk,
yep.
Really good operator. But effectively, she changed. She was one of the last tenants of that music industry. She's like, well, I don't need a publisher. I'm going to get my fan base to pre-purchase this.
Yep.
And so what my view was the same way. So for me, it was. I'd maxed out my credit cards. It had gone over budget. I could have kept on finding ways to make money, but I'm like, why don't I get the people that have been following along on Instagram and following the Medium posts and things too, if they want to contribute. So the event part of it was great, but your friends want to help along the way, but you don't want them giving you money. I'm like, just buy 10 ice creams. We had a launch party pledge level. So that's been really good. One of the challenges is, I'm in my 40s, not in my 20s. If you're in your 20s, you know what crowdfunding is. Kickstarter is a word that's in your vocabulary. Yeah. In your 40s, people still, like my friends were like, I was trying to give them some of the instruction. If you want to share this on Facebook or somewhere, please don't use the term donate to Scott's crowdfunding campaign. And when that happened, and when it happened every now and again on Instagram, people would be going, why are we donating to this? We should be donating to real charities like Amnesty. And I was like, it's not donating, it's a pre-purchase notice. There's a bit of educating to do around that. Yep. But it's a really nice launch strategy. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to get people buzzed and talking about it, and I wanted to have people showing our launch video around the office, and so it's double whammy.
Okay.
So for me, the challenge was we ran the crowdfunding fairly late in the production process, and at first glance, if you look at the truck, without paying any attention to the video, just the still on YouTube there, it looks like it's finished. What's your crowdfunding for? Yep. So we had to communicate during the video that the painting's been done on the outside, but it doesn't have any branding. On the inside, it's pretty hollow. So it didn't have any benches, didn't have any freezers, needs compressors, needs to have wiring finished. So I went for, my goal was 13 grand or 12,600 or whatever it was. Local and service businesses are much different than tech products. Most crowdfunding is a tech product.
Yeah. Anyone around the world.
They're global.
The
challenge with tech products often is they ship pretty late, and they're often in a really early development stage, not a late stage.
Yep.
And that's, crowdfunding's got some issues around late delivery of products. But for me, I was like, okay, I want to localise. Most of my audience is going to be in Melbourne.
Yeah.
One of the ways of I could get more of an Australian national audience is we were going, buy your 10 ice creams up front as a pledge level. If you're in town for the Melbourne Cup, for the footy, for the horse racing, for the theatre, for shopping, whatever else, you can redeem them then. So I worked out that we had a reasonable audience in Sydney and again on the Gold Coast. I'm like, they're all in town at some point. So they're going to get value out. It's not a donation scenario. Did lots of research around crowdfunding, watched lots of seminars and videos and did a lot of stuff around what works, what doesn't work, there's lots of misnomers there. The first level is definitely the most important, the low dollar value one.
So what we're doing, just again, I want to explain this. You used Indiegogo.
Used Indiegogo.
You got some interesting feedback on that, which we'll share shortly. But you go there, you start a campaign, you say this is what we are raising. This is what we are pre-selling.
Yep. My goal was X, and I'm going to use the money that you guys contribute to do this with the truck.
And in order to get people to hand over some folding stuff, you have different levels of things that they can buy from you in the future.
In crowdfunding speak, they're called rewards or perks or pledges.
Right.
And part of that is a legal reason. When they were set up in the US and they became the known, when Kickstarter first got rolling, they had to, because people were pledging to buy, not buying, they were the words that had to be used, and they become the common words. So we staggered a lot of pledge levels, some big ticket items and some much more. Most of the research says that most people pledge, the most common pledges are $55, $35, $5 and $120. So that's globally. And obviously that encompasses lots of different industries, lots of different products. And I've gone, well, some of that relates to me. So we had a pledge range. When I said that the first level is the most important one is, people get it really wrong. They're like,
the cheapest.
The $5 one is, we'll give you a shout out from our social platforms.
Yeah.
What they're not thinking about is people are they're contributing in some way, give them the best value you can, because they're effectively giving you an email address for a database. So the other thing is crowdfunding campaigns are database builders. So you want to the goal is to get your dollar value, but also to have it across a lot of contributors, because then you've got when you launch your business, and mine was going to be a business, not just a one-off product, then you've got an email list that have contributed, they know your story, and they're probably going to buy from you in the future. Maybe they haven't got a wedding in their family now, or they haven't got an office, or they haven't got a fashion brand and doing a photo shoot, but maybe in the future they will, or they can share it with someone.
So back to your first level is not necessarily the cheapest level either, because I noticed your first level when you opened up the campaign, it wasn't the cheap. It was like a $40 or $50.
It was a $44 buy 10 ice creams up front, and that is the featured one. It's almost like the one that lots of people like you have been contributing to, and then it started with the scaling, the dollar version one, and we're now started at $9, where you basically got 2 ice creams and an ebook. The ebook was how to organise a food truck wedding, which I knew was a big part of the industry I'd been in because of the ice cream carts. So the platforms were it's a really tricky time, or really interesting time with crowdfunding platforms. There's a bunch of them out there. Possible's the Australian one based here in Melbourne. Indiegogo was seen as one for music videos or musicians and filmmakers. Kickstarter's the biggest of them all and the most known.
Why did you choose Indiegogo?
I initially chose Possible, and all the way through, I went to a bunch of the Possible seminars. Possible was going to be the one that I was going to use. They had some challenges they were going through a platform upgrade right when I wanted to launch. And I'd left my launch quite late. I didn't have any, even though I delayed it for about 6 months, it came down to the last week or two. And they were, like a lot of the platforms, are really moving into crowd equity, where you can buy into a business as opposed to buying a product from a business. They were very focused on that at the time, and the upgrade was a big chunk of the upgrade was on the crowd equity platform. So they had a few glitches. I had some concerns around Possible's platform, the ability to pledge on mobile. Ideally, it'd be a couple of step process. It was about 4 big. So it was a bit of friction in there. E-commerce is what I do.
You don't want friction.
And I knew that we had a big part of our crowd was going to be clicking through from Instagram, so I knew that it was going to happen on mobile. And if you're going to get the impulse purchases, some people are really committed and they'll jump through hoops to sign up on a desktop or whatever, but a good chunk of them, it's in the moment, like any impulse purchase. So I had some concerns around the feasibility or the conversion ability or the UX on mobile. So I spoke to a few people about Indiegogo, and so I switched from Possible planning to use Possible to switching Indiegogo only a few days out. I got some good feedback from the guys that had done a couple of successful Indiegogo campaigns. What I didn't realise was that I'd jumped onto another ship that was going through an upgrade,
Oh,
and they were very focused on their crowd equity platform as well. And so I've left one, thought I did a bit of homework, got to the other one, and within the first 2 hours, I thought I've actually made a mistake here. The challenge they have an app, but their app has been unloved. So even if you've got an existing Indiegogo account and you're trying to pledge through the app, it's a bit glitchy.
Yep.
And pledging on their mobile responsive site, it did weird things. It added things to the cart that you didn't want.
Oh.
So
you're in.
The first 2 hours, I was getting these text screenshots going, "What's the problem here?" It reset the starting time twice, so we had to delay the starting time for an hour. It was going to start at 3 p.m. At 8 o'clock, I'm like, "We'll have it sorted." It's 9:30, and people are going, "I thought you did this for a living. Are you completely incompetent?" Because stuff was going wrong. But anyway, we were committed. We got rolling. A lot of it was a bit of 2007 e-commerce where I was talking people through it on the phone, which is not really what you want to do.
Turn it off, turn it on again.
Because realistically, what you're doing with a crowdfunding platform, I didn't have a global product, so I knew that I'd be bringing most of my own audience.
Yeah.
What you're really doing is just leasing an e-commerce platform.
Gotcha.
That's got some credibility, and it's got some checks and balances for people around. They've got a pay.
Look, you overachieved. I think you ended up getting 16 grand, or didn't you? 16,
So crowdfunding is interesting. There are some really key rules. You need to be at 40% by the end of the second day, and people think the work starts before you turn. When you turn on the campaign, you need to have built your audience, got your email address before you turn it on, and that's the thing that most people forget. The success numbers. If you're at 40% by the end of the second day, you've got like an 80% chance of getting funded. Mm-hmm. If you are not at least at 25%, you're actually getting funded rate is under 20%.
How long have you got?
So
you can decide that, I guess.
Yeah, the average is 30 days. The longest you see are 60, sometimes 90 days. I end up running mine as an 18-day, which is really short. But but that was around that. I decided to do that because I was like, these Christmas inquiries I was getting outside of the platform. If I'm going to do those, I need to have the campaign finishing well before Christmas. Yep. So I did mine seriously short. 30 days is ideal, and if I had in a perfect world, that's what I would have ran. Any longer than that. The crowdfunding, a lot of it happens in the beginning, a lot of it happens at the end. There's a natural U shape. There's lots of evidence online that talk about that. There's a dip in the middle.
And you're talking about critical success factors around crowdfunding. The other two things that seem to be important is the sharing by those who get involved on social media, and Indiegogo and all those platforms make it pretty easy for you to do that.
They do.
The other thing that, to me, seems to work very well is a good video, a good 1 minute, 2 minute video, which you had.
Yep. So the videos need to be under 3 minutes at the absolute longest. If you've got a complicated product or project where you need to educate and sell, ideally they're under 2 minutes. Ours just was around that 2 minute space. So the video is key. The success rates go through the roof. You need to have an entertaining video. The psychology around it's quite interesting. There's a guy called Clay E. Bear that's got a business called Crowdfunding Hacks. I'll give you some links to drop in there. He talks about what people do when they get the actual user experience is they go to have a look at the screenshot on the video, so the still. They look up top right, and top right on all the platforms is okay. What number are they at? Yep. Okay, so they're going. Let's say it's third day. They're going for 20 grand. They're at 5 or 6. So. They've seen a few contributors already there. They look down and see how many days to go, so they make a quick mental calculation. Is this going to get funded? Everyone wants to be part of something that's going somewhere. Then if they go, oh, this might be interesting, then they start watching the video. If they like what happens in the first 10 seconds, they continue watching it. If they don't like what's going on, they stop. Wow. Then, if they like what's going on in the first minute, their eyes start to go along to the right-hand side of the screen and go, what's on offer? Is there something that is a pledge or reward level for me?
Yep.
That's why staggering those and having something for everyone.
Yep.
Ice cream's an everyman product, but not everyone's getting married, not everyone's got a brand. So you need to have a bunch of different things. Not everyone's in Melbourne. So we had to talk a lot about they never expire. You can redeem them anytime you like.
We'll keep track of all your purchases.
All that stuff. So you've got a lot of things going on, but the psychology of it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So you've got to. It's not. So without a video, you're going to struggle. If your video isn't entertaining,
what did the video cost? It was a good one.
Yeah. So I had a mate of mine Mick, who helped me shoot a whole lot of the video. He got really busy in the final stage where we need to do the kind of the last edit, and a mate of mine, Matt Irwin, came in and helped me out with a bunch of stuff at the end.
Good on him.
And he was the one, the bit where you see me running around the truck, which makes no logical sense at all.
No, well, you did mention the word fitness or health or something in regards to it, but so you're pointing out we need a stereo system.
So he, as a director, he's gone, because I was, you're doing a bunch of takes and you become a bit more wooden, and he's gone, let's just break up the pattern.
Yeah.
He went on Tony Robbins. He's gone, let's break the pattern here. He's like, let's just do one version where you run around the truck. I'm like, that makes no sense. He's like, humour me, just do it. Because all we were doing was doing the run around one, and then we're going to come back and do one of the more standard to cameras. And if you look closely, I run out of the camera view.
Yep.
There's a little bit moments where it's it's not Scorsese.
But it's a great video.
It's entertaining enough where that outweighs everything else.
I'm hoping I can put a copy of that on the show notes. So that'll be around once the campaign's over. But that's okay. So you've raised your dough. That is going to allow you to finish off Grace.
Yep.
Mate, what's the branding going to be on the outside?
So one of the things that we end up hitting the goal about 4 days out, and I announced a little stretch goal and said if we get another 3K or so, we actually have hand sign writing and not stickers on the outside, and that was a nice stretch goal to have. And we the stretch goal was 16.5, and we got to about 16.2, which is perfect.
Right.
What that means is there's enough to pay all the bills with Grace. All the things I want to do with it, apart from the very expensive Italian freezer, which I put in next winter after she's washed her face and made $1. So the branding and stuff is going to be some old classic fonts. I'm going to have, instead of having a menu that we just kind of plonk out when we get to a venue, if you look at old, like really thin, almost like little kids' bed slats, I'm going to have each of the flavours painted on the bed slats with a fridge magnet behind them and a bit of felt behind them. So the flavours of the day will go out and stick on the side of the truck.
Beautiful. And
that really, almost like your Yaldi Arnott's truck style.
Yeah, I love, again, you're a storyteller, Scotty, but you talk about... if Mr. Whippy is Nescafe Blend 43, then Grace will be Sri Lankan single origin. And that's exactly how you see her, isn't it? I mean, it's the most beautiful ice cream van in the world is kind of where you want to take this, right?
When you tell your friends you're going to buy and restore an old ice cream truck and then you might drive it, and you're not 25, which I'm not 20, they look at you like you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
And then they start going, you're going to be Mr. Whippy?
That look is one of envy, I reckon.
Envy plus sanity question.
Envy plus sanity, but there's a bit of envy in there.
But because that's not what you're supposed to do when you're in your 40s. It's anyway,
what are you meant to do?
I agree, but it was one of those ones where one of the challenges I had was people had Mr. Whippy in their head, and so the Instagram account I showed beautiful old retro trucks that were literally beautiful cars that were working vehicles. The other thing was when I started writing posts and talking about the truck, I wanted to make people think it was going to be, it's going to have timber in it and it was going to have a really retro, beautiful look. It was going to get as far away, and Mr. Whippy's fine for what they are, but it wasn't going to be a pink and white truck with lots of stickers in the windows.
But you are going to have play green sleeves.
We are, yes.
What's that about?
So
that's just part of Pavlov. Here we go.
So
Pavlov says what?
It does elicit a response.
Yeah,
and so people know what it is.
Fair enough.
One of the things that's happened a bit off Broadway during the campaign is again on Instagram. When I was featuring all these ice cream trucks from around the world, we ended up forming a little kind of private message group on the back of Insta. So group message. There's about 25 of us, and I was featuring their trucks, and they were thankful for that. And I was asking them questions, going, "Is solar panels there yet? Can you fully feed it? Do you use batteries? How are your generator? What kind of generators?" I'd ask them about events versus on the street, what percentage of your business, and the guys that are in LA, they're doing movie and TV stuff, where guys in Madrid are doing other things as well. But one of the things that came up was I started asking him a lot around music, and that was the most. It was almost like putting up that contentious post where just the comments go nuts. They're like, if you want to retain your staff, you can't play green sleeves because they will quit from going insane from hearing it all the time. But the best answer I got was a lady in Germany that has a beautiful old Citroen H van, which is a really common food truck style in the US. She's in Europe. She goes, "We play green sleeves as we're driving into a place, and then we stop and we play some other types of music." And I was like, "That's the answer."
That's it.
So you play green sleeves on arrival, and then it gets shut up. And we're going to do a bit of French jazz.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Which has got a really nice sound, and it's that nice mix between mums love it because it reminds me of that that summer they spend in Paris, and hipsters love it. And there aren't too many things in this world that both hipsters and mums love.
Scotty, you've said you have something in store for Grace at the very end, some kind of Anthony Bourdain adventure. What is that?
So, a bit like you, I've done a couple of little interview series for my e-commerce business. We ran a series called Online Offline that we're probably going to kind of fire up again, where I interviewed successful brands from Frank to Adore Beauty to Belroy and a bunch of them, and really liked that concept. And I've gotten away from that, diving deep into the ice cream.
Yeah, right.
What I want to do, I've built this ice cream truck, and it's going to work afternoons and evenings, but it's going to sit there in the mornings. And I was like, how do I make it work in the mornings? What else can I do with it? Because I look at it almost like it's you built a set.
Yeah.
What can I do with it? So I'm going to do an interview series in the truck driving around. So it's going to be Seinfeld's comedians in cars getting coffee, meets.
Mate, you might have to do some acoustic work in there, another crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, there might be. Once we put the carpet in there, and we'll be able to block out a little bit of the sound in the back. It'll be a bit less
hilarious.
echo. So what I want to do is it's the Seinfeld series in Grace meets a bit of. If you ever watching those creative mornings videos, it's going to have a creative. How have these people done this? And we're going to drive around. So I'm going to pick them up in the ice cream truck. Filming those things now is, whenever you talk filming, editing is always a killer cost.
Yeah.
But if I can put 2 GoPros either corner of the windows, and all of it happens inside the truck, a little bit like carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
They can sing if they've got good pipes. I don't have any, but but we're just going to drive around and do it. So we're driving around Melbourne and interviewing these people.
Don't be fooled by those shows. Look easy, celebrities in cars and carpool karaoke, but they've got a convoy following them.
I've stalked one of the head of photography for the Comedians show, and he goes, here, I'll send you some footage. He goes, so we've got 16 people on this crew, and he's depressing me, and I've gone, if you were going to film this on the weekend yourself with not much budget, how would you do it? He goes, don't have anyone getting out of the vehicle. He goes, as much as it is, it's really cool to see Jerry and Steve Martin walking into the cafe. He goes, that's where all your edit's going to be. He goes, if you can just keep 2 GoPros, he goes, do it that way. He goes, it'll mean that all you're doing is editing, like an old interview series on TV where they'll edit the noddies afterwards.
Yep.
He goes, you can have just 2 cameras, one on them, one on you, predominantly on them. You're chatting away. He goes, you're going to have to control your sound, as we experienced today. Yep. But he goes, you'll at least be able to get started, and then he goes, if you can get a following and a sponsor, he goes, figure out all the other stuff you want to do afterwards. And that was my light bulb moment. Poor guy, he's very rarely on Twitter, and he's got this guy in Australia that's talking about some ice cream truck at him all the time, but he's fantastic, so he's giving me a lot of help.
A brilliant story.
So the other thing is, so that's stage 1.
Yeah.
Now, if it all went well and I was driving and interviewing people, the gig would be to find a sponsor, like whether it be a production company like a Fremantle or whoever, or the Food Network or whatever, and is to drive this thing around the world.
Oh, nice.
So do the Bourdain style, but it's my hook, or the interesting different part of it is, it's not like another celebrity chef going back to Asia, showing them their Asian roots, sourcing, here's where we buy our bok choy and fresh and all that stuff. It's going to be that, but in an ice cream truck. So driving through Russia and Thailand and Cuba.
And visiting all those 173 ice cream stores.
Going to go back and see those guys. Remember me? This is the truck.
I was listening. So
that's probably, that's the long-term pie-in-the-sky goal. But and that's partly when I come back to branding and keeping Grace potentially separate. That's why I might do it that way.
Mate, I wish you all the success in the world. I love it. I love the fact that how old are you? 68? 48.
That's a bit hard.
48.
Thank you.
And you're living the dream. And, may it continue to satisfy you for a very, very long time.
Well, look at your story. Look, there are, as we all know, there's no barriers now.
Barriers.
You don't need a Channel 9 production team.
No. You've never been a better time to start a business.
I'm going to do a Grace colouring book that will sell in the truck. Adult colouring books are all the rage.
They are.
But I can also use that as a sellable product, but we can also give it away when people book weddings.
You've got to have some merch. You've got to have T-shirts.
Yeah, we'll do. And trucker caps, because she's a truck.
Mate,
all that stuff.
I'm all over.
So I want to have a crack at this, not publishing, but doing it, turning this thing into a pun intended vehicle.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, mate, I'm full of dad jokes, so I'm put my hand up for a weekend in Grace. Thanks, Scotty.
Good to see you, fella.
Well, there you go. Proud owner Scott Kilmartin of Grace the Vintage Ice Cream Truck. You'll find some pics of Scott and I and Grace, plus Scott's crowdfunding video over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/346. Now, I learnt a lot in that interview. I hope you did too. Not only learnt a lot, but was mightily inspired. Here's my top 3 attention grabbers. I could have done more, but here's my top 3 attention grabbers thanks to Key Person of Influence. I was going to say KPI, but I don't really do acronyms. And Workplace Assured. Attention grabber number 1. If you're passionate enough about something, then there's always going to be a way and someone to help you along that way. Just like Scott persevered in finding someone to help him restore good old Gracie to her former glory. Attention grabber number 2, ask yourself how you could use crowdfunding to raise money for your current business or maybe even your next business idea. Check out sites like Indiegogo, Possible or GoFundMe and see what businesses like yours are doing and sort of get your eye in as to what might be possible for your business. Attention grabber number 3, hustle. Scott's ability to hustle, I think, is inspiring. He rolls his sleeves up and gets stuff done, you know. In fact, after we finished the interview, I mentioned that a friend of mine is running Barefoot Cinema down in Portsea, which is a beach resort outside of Melbourne. And the first thing Scott says is, can I get an introduction? And so I give him an introduction, and like within 24 hours, Scott's arranged to have Grace serve ice cream. Well, she's not going to serve ice cream, but you know what I mean, down at Barefoot Cinema at Portsea on Australia Day. So how good's that? Love the hustle. Hey, what grabbed your attention? Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/346. Leave me your thoughts. That almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. But don't worry, plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead. Next week, you and I catch up with another inspiring entrepreneur who's been on a self-confessed nerd pilgrimage to Silicon Valley, only to return with an idea that just might be the next Airbnb. It's a great interview. Look forward to that. A few months ago, I had a chat with New York-based Adam Lippin, who sells and teaches others to sell cuddles. We're not talking 5-second cuddles either. We are talking 60-minute cuddles. You see, Adam believes we live in a society that's sex-obsessed and touch-deprived. Now, whilst his business is totally above the line, it's not one of those businesses, guys. I couldn't help but ask a question that was probably on a lot of listeners' minds. Elephant in the room time. Listeners, get the kids out. Turn it down, put the headphones on, whatever you're doing. Boners, there you go, I've said it. Yeah. Boners, stiffies. I'm representing the men here.
No, I get it. So it is possible for arousal to happen, and it is possible for attraction to happen. We're human beings, and two people are being physically intimate with each other. The rules are you don't act on it, and so from a physical perspective, let's be real. You shift a half an inch away. But really, the truth of it is, so you're in this very intimate experience, and potentially you're feeling aroused, right? Mm. What happens if you don't act on it? So our culture is so trained on acting on, we feel aroused, we must act on it, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens if you don't act on it and you stay with it?
Well, to find out what does happen, you can listen to my full interview with the cuddlist, Adam Lippin, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or you can subscribe free on iTunes, which I would love you to do. If you haven't done it, you can stop listening now, head over to iTunes, hit subscribe. Hey, I'd love to hear from you, though. Tim Reid. No, that's not it. Wrong, Timbo. Get your email address right. Tim@timreid, reid.com.au, or hit me up on Twitter @Timbo Reid. Thanks to Workplace Assured for their support. Remember, no matter what curly question you, as the business owner, have around running that beautiful business of yours, the team at Workplace Assured can shed some light on it, saving you a whole lot of unnecessary expense and worry along the way. Try them out today for free on 1300 496 955. And be sure to grab a free hard copy, if you haven't already, and I know many of you have, of the Key Person of Influence book over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. But only if you want to become more visible, valued, and connected in your industry. If you love the show, Go and tell someone else. Go and tell another small business owner that could do with a little bit of marketing love. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Always have been, always will be. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.